To give more gravitas to what I just said, I'm going to go ahead and share this with you here. Let's see here, where do I have it? Right here. Okay, very good. So the 19th quad prime. Quad prime is a number, is a composite which has 4 prime factors. And the 19th quad prime is 150. 150 is actually 2 times 5, I'm sorry, 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. So those are the 4 prime factors, 2, 3, 5, 5. Okay. So that happens to be the 19th such number, 150. And 150th prime is 863. And 150 is also happens to be the 114th composite, and 114, as we know, is the number of surahs in the Quran. It also happens that 863 is a lonely prime, and it happens to be the 83rd lonely prime. And 83rd composite happens to be 114. Again, it generates the number of surahs in the Quran. So as you remember now, the last time I said this, and we go here, we see that okay, this prime here, let me just go ahead and push this down a little bit so we can have the table on the same page. This prime 863, which happens to be the 150th prime, is from that series of primes plus their index, or index prime, index additive prime, which the first one is 521, and you add 98 to it, and you get 619, and 619 is the 114th, and you add 114 to 619, you get 733, which is the 130th prime, and then you added one more time, 130 and 733, you get 863, which is 150th. So it's part of that series of primes that are unique to the Quran, generators of the Quran. Okay, so here go back to today's stuff. Okay, so 863 also happens to be the index of tri-prime 3425. Okay, but 3425 is the index of composite 3975, and 39 happens to be the 19th uninitial surah in the Quran. It also has 75 verses. Okay, so what it does actually, that 19th quad prime generates all of this information for us in the Quran. The reverse of 863 happens to be 368. And 368 is the frequency of Ha plus Mim in Surah 43. And chapter 43 in the Quran happens to be the 19th initial surah revealed. So you see, that's the link between chapter 39 and chapter 43. That somehow the initials, the frequency of the Ha Mim in chapter 43, which is the 19th initial surah that was revealed, 368, is connected to the number of verses in chapter 39, which is the 19th surah, uninitial surah in the Quran. Okay? So you see that? You see how they are connected? So those numbers, when you see that 39 has 75 verses, there is a reason for it. And by the way, look at the index of that. It's 3425. Those are those 3 consecutive digits, 2, 3, 4, 5, which the 14th element is 42, 53, and chapter 42 has 53 verses. But more astonishing is that Uh, 4253 happens to be the exponent of the 19th Mersenne prime. Okay? So you see that's how these numbers are generated in the Quran. And that's how, when we read the Quran, you see, when we read it, then we really enjoy it better. Okay? Over and over in the Quran, it said these are the signs of this, or these are the proofs of this scripture about this, the initials. Okay? Because somehow those initials actually are generating the number of verses in certain surahs, or the other way around, the number of certain surahs in the Quran actually generating how many initials you're supposed to have. That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Okay. And so if I want to talk about this, 368 is the index of 456, and 456 is actually 24 times 19. And chapter 43 in the Quran is the 24th initial surah in the Quran, in the compilation form, and the 19th that was revealed, the 19th initial surah that was revealed. And you added one more time, I'm sorry, you don't add it one more time. The index of 456 happens to be the index of composite 559, and 559 is 13 times 43. And chapter 13 in the Quran has 43 verses. Okay? Remember now we started with 368, which is the number of initials in chapter 43 in the Quran. And so we generated the number of verses in chapter 13 in the Quran. Okay. So anyway, it goes on, and then if you added one, if you look at it one more time, 559 is actually the index of 684, and 684 is 19 times 36, and chapter 36 in the Quran is the 19th initial surah. Okay, so then we see why those positions are there, for what reason, and those counts, and those number of verses, and those initials, they are all intertwined. Okay, so they produce this book which is infallible, and that same book tells us worship God alone. That same book tells us this is what you should do. After you worship God alone, this is how you lead a righteous life. But once your foundation is built unshaken, which is worshiping God alone, then what you can do is you can build those things easily on top of that, because you keep your covenant with God. Okay? You respect your covenant with God. You fear God. You have the ultimate respect for God. Otherwise, everything is going to fall apart. The slightest seepage of idol worship in your life is going to destroy the whole thing. Okay? So I'm going to stop here and we finish our Jum'ah. Allahu Kabir.